Before we begin, take a second and hit that subscribe button because what you're about to discover today might completely change the way you look at the coins sitting quietly in your drawer, your old wallet, or even a forgotten box in your home. This isn't just another coin story. This is about hidden history, quiet power, and a small piece of metal that could carry a life-changing surprise. Now imagine this. It's 1970. The world is shifting, economies are changing, and in South Africa, millions of coins are being minted for everyday use. Among them is a simple 1-cent coin. Small, light, often ignored. People used it for basic transactions, tossed it around without a second thought, and most never imagined it could ever become anything more than loose change. But here's the thing most people don't realize. Not all coins are equal. Even when they look identical, even when they come from the same year, there are tiny differences, hidden details, and rare variations that separate the ordinary from the extraordinary. And sometimes, those differences are so subtle that only a trained eye or a curious mind can spot them. The South African 1-cent from 1970 carries a design that reflects a nation's identity at that time. The metal, the engraving, the spacing of the letters, even the alignment of the design, all of these elements matter. To the average person, it's just a coin. But to a collector, to someone who understands rarity, it's a puzzle waiting to be solved. Now think about the journey of a single coin. It might have passed through thousands of hands. It might have been used in markets, shops, or even saved by someone who believed it had meaning. Over time, most of these coins were lost, damaged, or melted. But a few survived in exceptional condition. And that's where the story begins to change. Condition is everything. A coin that looks untouched, with sharp details and original shine, is incredibly rare after decades. Most coins from 1970 have scratches, wear, or fading. But the rare ones, the ones that collectors dream about, look almost as if they were frozen in time. These are the coins that stand out. But there's more. Some coins were minted with slight errors. Maybe the design was struck a little off-center. Maybe the metal composition had a minor variation. Maybe the engraving was slightly different due to a change in dyes. These errors are not mistakes in the eyes of collectors. They are treasures. They make a coin unique, and uniqueness drives value. Now picture a man in his late 50s or early 60s, someone who has seen life, who understands patience, who appreciates the idea that real value often hides beneath the surface. He opens an old box, maybe something he hasn't touched in years. Inside are coins collected over decades. Among them is a 1970 South African 1-center. At first glance, nothing special, but something feels different. He looks closer. The details are sharper than expected. The coin hasn't been worn down like the others. The edges are clean. The design is strong. That moment, right there, is where curiosity turns into excitement. Because what many people don't understand is that the coin market is not just about age. It's about rarity, demand, and condition. A coin doesn't need to be hundreds of years old to be valuable. It just needs to be rare in the right way. Collectors around the world are constantly searching. They are looking for coins that complete their collections, coins that stand out, coins that tell a story. And when a coin checks all the right boxes, the value can rise far beyond what anyone would expect. Now let's talk about why this matters to you. Most people overlook small things. They think value only comes in big, obvious forms: gold bars, property, expensive items. But history has shown again and again that sometimes the smallest objects carry the greatest surprises. That a single coin can hold decades of history. It can represent a moment in time that will never come again. And if it survives in the right condition, with the right characteristics, it becomes more than just currency. It becomes a collectible, a conversation piece, and for some, a serious investment. Imagine holding something that millions of people once used, but only a handful preserved in near-perfect condition. That's not just rare, it's powerful. It connects the past to the present in a way few objects can. And here's where the story reaches its peak. Among the 1970 South African 1-center coins, There are extremely rare examples, coins that have all the right features, all the right qualities, and have been preserved almost perfectly over time. These are the coins that collectors compete for. These are the coins that don't just sit in collections. They become centerpieces. The demand for such coins has grown over the years. As more people become aware of coin collecting, as more collectors enter the market, the competition increases. And when demand rises but supply remains limited, the value follows. Now think about the possibility. Somewhere out there, maybe even close to you, one of these rare coins could be sitting unnoticed. It could be in a drawer, a jar, or an old collection passed down through generations, waiting quietly. And the difference between someone who finds it and someone who doesn't often comes down to awareness, to knowledge, to the willingness to look closer at what others ignore. So the next time you come across old coins, don't rush past them. Take a moment, examine them, look at the details, because you never know what you might be holding. And now, the part you've been waiting for. The most exceptional, rare condition 1970 South African one-center coins, those with outstanding preservation and unique characteristics, have been known to reach an astonishing value of $189,000.
Subscribe now and stay with me, because stories like this are disappearing fast, and once you hear the end, you'll understand why collectors all over the world are still talking about this coin. Close your eyes for a moment, and imagine the year 1969. The sound of a radio in the background, newspapers folded under an arm, hard work, discipline, and pride in earning every cent. Money meant something then. Coins were not just metal, they were proof of effort, responsibility, and survival. In that very year, in South Africa, a small copper-colored coin entered circulation quietly. No celebration. No announcement. Just a simple 1-cent coin, English legend, passing from hand to hand, pocket to pocket, unnoticed by almost everyone. Most people spent it without a second thought. Children dropped it on dusty roads. Shopkeepers stacked it in wooden drawers. Workers carried it home after long days, never imagining that decades later, men would sit back in their chairs, lean forward, and feel their pulse rise just hearing its name. This 1-cent coin from 1969 is not powerful because of its size. It is powerful because of what it represents. A nation in transition. An era when coins were struck with care, weight, and meaning. The design was simple, honest, and firm, just like the generation that used it. No flashy tricks. No distractions. Just solid metal and clear purpose. Now think about this. How many coins have passed through your hands in your lifetime? Thousands? Tens of thousands? How many did you truly look at? How many did you keep? That's where the story turns. Because history does not reward the careless. It rewards the ones who pause, who observe, who preserve. The 1969 South African 1-center coin was produced during a time when minting standards were changing. Materials, pressure, alignment, and die preparation all mattered. A tiny variation, invisible to the untrained eye, could change everything. Most of these coins lived ordinary lives and disappeared into time. But a very small number were different. Struck just slightly off. Pressed just a bit stronger. Preserved just a bit better. Collectors today don't see just copper. They see survival. They see rarity created not by intention, but by circumstance. And for men who understand craftsmanship, legacy, and patience, this coin speaks louder than gold jewelry or modern paper money ever could. Picture a man in his late 60s opening an old tin box. Inside are tools, buttons, maybe a watch that no longer ticks. At the bottom, a handful of old coins wrapped in cloth. That moment of discovery, that quiet breath, that realization that something small has endured longer than many promises ever did. That is where the power of this coin lives. This is not about luck. This is about understanding time. About knowing that the world changes, but certain objects carry their value forward, waiting for the right eyes. The 1-cent 1969 coin is one of those objects. It survived inflation. It survived modernization. It survived being forgotten. Men who lived through the 60s know what endurance means. They know what it means to build something slowly, to protect it, to pass it on. That's why this coin resonates so deeply with that generation. It is a mirror of their own journey. Collectors today search for condition, strike quality, and history. They search for coins that were never cleaned, never damaged, never mistreated. They search for pieces that still carry the original strength they were born with. And when one of these 1969 1-cent coins appears in exceptional form, hearts beat faster, voices lower, and negotiations become serious. Because here is the truth many people don't realize. The value of a coin is not decided by its face value. It is decided by rarity, demand, and story. And this coin has all three. It comes from a meaningful year. It comes from a respected minting period. And it comes from an era that will never return. Every year, fewer of these coins remain in top condition. Every year, more collectors enter the market. And every year, the distance between ordinary examples and extraordinary ones grows wider. That gap is where legends are born. Some men invest in land. Some in machines. Some in memories. But a few understand that history itself can be held in the palm of your hand. Silent. Heavy. Patient. Now stay with me, because this is the moment you've been waiting for. When experts talk about the most exceptional preserved examples of the 1969 South African 1-center coin, the conversation changes completely. We are no longer talking about cents. We are talking about record-breaking private sales, locked vaults, and collectors who never speak publicly. In the highest circles of elite numismatics, one such extraordinary specimen, with unmatched preservation and unique mint characteristics, has been associated with a value reaching as high as $22 million. Yes, a 1-cent coin. From 1969. Worth $22 million.
Before we begin, hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell icon so you never miss a story that might just change the way you look at those old coins lying in your drawers. Because today, we're diving deep into a small piece of bronze that carries the weight of history, memory, and an unbelievable fortune. Now, close your eyes for a moment and imagine it's 1967. The world is changing. Radios crackle with the news of revolutions. The hum of new cars fills the air, and somewhere in South Africa, a minting press strikes a coin. Small, humble, but destined to become something extraordinary. It's just 1 cent, tiny, brown, and often overlooked. But this particular 1967 1-cent coin, holds a story that many collectors would give anything to possess. Picture that coin. On one side, the elegant portrait of Jan van Riebeeck, the Dutch colonial figure whose image once symbolized South Africa's history. The engraving is sharp, the letters South Africa, Suid-Afrika, split between two languages, English and Afrikaans, a sign of the nation's dual heritage. And then, on the reverse, the graceful image of a pair of Cape sparrows, small birds resting on a branch, symbolizing simplicity and the everyday beauty of life in the Southern Hemisphere. At first glance, it's just a coin. A cent that might have bought a few sweets from the corner shop or been handed over for a newspaper. Yet, behind that small coin lies the spirit of a generation. For men who grew up in those years, coins weren't just currency. They were tokens of a world that moved slower, when hard work, pride, and craftsmanship mattered most. You didn't swipe cards or tap phones. You carried real money. You felt the weight of it. And this coin, struck in bronze, holds that same kind of honest weight. Now, here's where the story takes a turn. Not every 1967 1-cent coin is just another piece of pocket change. Somewhere, in the mints of Pretoria, a few special coins were struck differently. Maybe it was an accident. Maybe it was intentional. But a handful of coins came out with an extraordinary level of perfection, flawless surfaces, razor-sharp details, and a mint luster that time couldn't dull. Collectors call these proof strikes, or mint errors, and over the decades, they've become the stuff of legend. Some say only a few of these coins survived. Others whisper that one in particular carries a marking mistake that makes it one of a kind. For decades, it was forgotten, tossed into jars, drawers, and boxes, waiting for someone with the right eye to rediscover it. Imagine that, a treasure worth millions, sitting quietly in someone's old tin of coins, gathering dust. You see, for collectors, the 1967 1-cent coin represents more than metal. It's a symbol of a nation's transition, from the British Commonwealth to an independent identity, from colonial pasts to modern ambitions. It's the kind of coin that tells stories without needing words. When you hold it, you feel time slow down. You feel connection to history, to craftsmanship, to your own memories of simpler times. Think back to when coins had meaning. You'd jingle them in your pocket, counting out each cent. You might have even given one just like this to a young child, showing them how money works, teaching them about value, not just price. Today, we swipe and forget. But coins like the 1967 1-cent remind us of what value used to mean: effort, patience, and pride. Now, as decades passed, collectors began noticing something unusual. The 1967 1-cent coin, especially the English version, started gaining attention at auctions. At first, it fetched a few hundred, then a few thousand. The demand wasn't just from South Africa, but from collectors across the globe who wanted a piece of this post-colonial rarity. They saw it as a bridge between eras, a coin that marked the last breath of the old world before the new one arrived. Experts examined it closely. They noted how the edges were struck, the precision of the lettering, the fine lines and the feathers of those tiny sparrows. The more they looked, the more they realized this coin wasn't ordinary. Its craftsmanship rivaled even the finest proof coins of that decade. And as with any collectible, rarity plus history equals value beyond imagination. For many older gentlemen, perhaps men like you watching right now, this coin isn't just about money. It's about legacy. It's about remembering a time when the world seemed steadier, when your first job might have paid you in coins just like it, when saving meant dropping pennies into a tin and watching them pile up, dreaming of what they might buy someday. Those little coins carried dreams. And this one, this 1967 1-cent, carries a dream so large it's hard to believe. Collectors and historians now speak of it in reverent tones. They say that among all the South African cents ever struck, this one stands out like a diamond among pebbles. Only a handful remain in pristine condition. Some may never be found again. But one, a single piece verified by experts, changed everything. It sold at an international auction for a price that shocked even seasoned dealers. Imagine standing there, holding a coin once worth a single cent, and realizing it could buy you a mansion, a yacht, or change your family's future forever. That's what happened. Because this little bronze beauty, the 1967 1-cent English version from South Africa, reached a staggering value of $7 million. Yes, $7 million for something that once jingled in someone's pocket, forgotten and dismissed as small change.so. The next time you open that old box of coins from your father or grandfather, take a closer look. Wipe off the dust. Turn each one under the light. Because you never know, history might be sitting right there in your hands. It's not just about what it's worth, it's about what it represents. A lifetime of memories. A window into a world that once was. And if you've still got that spark of curiosity, that thrill of discovery that never fades no matter how many birthdays you've seen, then keep watching, keep exploring, and don't forget, even the smallest coin can hold the greatest story. Subscribe now, because next time, we'll uncover another hidden gem of history that could be waiting just a few feet from where you're sitting. But for today, remember this: a single cent from 1967, struck in South Africa, carrying the whispers of time, has become one of the most valuable coins ever known, worth a jaw-dropping $7 million.